Alexander Volkanovski versus Diego Lopes 2 was basically the same fight with a few differences. I thought Diego was going to be able to cut the cage a little bit better this time around. Not that I thought he'd win, but just have a little more success. And he did on a few occasions. There was even a time where he was like, I got you. Volk was trying to use his footwork to evade, and then Diego did some maneuver or something to prevent him from cutting the ring. And then Volk adjusted, and then he kept on using his footwork to evade Diego for the rest of the fight. What I've never understood about Volk is that you would think standing at 5'6" and having a shorter reach than a lot of his opponents, he would struggle to enter the void, but that's rarely the case. Even against Max Holloway, whom I think he has a longer reach than, Max was the one struggling to enter his void. Even against Diego Lopes, Diego is longer both vertically and horizontally. Struggled to enter the void, could barely pop over the boxing. Anytime he would try, Volk would do the same thing he was doing in the first fight, where he just lands an overhand. Diego would enter the void, then overhand, overhand. Sometimes he would follow up with hooks. He was able to crack Diego with that right hand on at least 2 occasions. But then again, luckily, Diego landed the hardest strike of the fight. Similar to the first one, it was a lead hook this time. I think Volk got a little bit careless, and then Diego countered him as he was blitzing in. I noticed how Diego made some improvements in the grappling, because in the first fight, I think Volk had a lot of success with the wrestling, especially early. He was able to take him down and some ground and pound. But this time around, Diego was defending the grappling very well. It was only in the 5th round where Volk was actually able to take down Diego, but he didn't do much with it, which was very impressive, because I think Volk is one of the best wrestlers the featherweight division has ever seen. It's just weird because it works more so defensively. Offensively, if he wants to, he can do it, but his striking is so damn good that he rarely needs to. There was a point where Diego attempted submissions against Volk. There was a kimura and the rear naked choke. I don't care what he's attempting on Volk, but I would have been willing to bet my whole laptop on him not securing that submission. Volk cannot be submitted. He is immune to submissions. He went up against Islam Makhachev. Islam had his back for extended periods. Could have went for the rear naked choke, but couldn't complete it. Brian Ortega had him in a guillotine as deep as the hole that Tracy Cortez left in his heart once he found out that she was dating Alex Pereira. But anyway, I digress. It's just pointless, bro. There's some science behind stocky guys having success in the defensive grappling department. Remember when Islam went up against JDM? Compare that fight to Volk. Obviously, I know Volk is a better defensive grappler than Jack Della Maddalena, but JDM is pretty freaking good, man. That's why he was able to defend all the submissions of Islam. That was something I predicted because I knew with Craig Jones in his corner, Craig Jones is a better BJJ practitioner than Islam, not in MMA, just in BJJ. So obviously, if you have someone that skilled in your corner, it makes sense that you'll probably be able to develop a very good defensive grappling arsenal. But in the wrestling department, JDM couldn't defend Islam's takedowns to save his life. And whenever Islam would shoot for a takedown, he would complete it and control him for the rest of the round. That wasn't the case when he went up against Volk the first time. And there were times where Volk had him in a dominant position. Remember in round 5, he dropped Islam, then started unleashing ground and pound. And at no point did JDM even come close to reaching that. So that just shows how good Volk is as a grappler, defensively especially. Offensively, I don't think he has submissions in his arsenal. I don't think he's been able to submit anyone in the UFC. And I don't think he would be able to unless maybe he rocks them or something. But that isn't necessarily a bad thing. This is MMA and every fighter has quote unquote weaknesses. I mean, when you look at Islam and Peter Yan, I would say those are probably the most complete fighters in the UFC. But even Islam has some holes in his game. For instance, I don't think he has that much volume. Compare him to someone like Max Holloway, and there's a clear difference. Islam has never been able to land more than 100 significant strikes in a fight, whereas JDM has been able to do that on more than one occasion. I can say the same for Max Holloway, Alexander Volkanovski, the list goes on. And then when you look at Peter Yan, I think Peter Yan is very good, but I don't think he has submissions in his arsenal. When was the last time he submitted someone? I don't remember. My main point is that Alexander Volkanovski is the freaking GOAT of the featherweight division, one of the greatest fighters of all time. I think after that performance, he's arguably in the top 8, maybe even top 6. And Diego lost this fight not because he isn't a good fighter or he went back to the drawing board and didn't make the right adjustments. It's just because Volk is just that damn good. I mean, look at how Diego performed against Gene Silva. Dominated him, bro. Dominated. Absolute domination. Yes, at times he was getting pieced up, like in round 2. It looked like Gene was about to take over, but then Diego landed that spinning back elbow. That wasn't luck. that was planned. Same Gene had a great performance against Arnold Allen, reminding us that he is the real deal. He just lost against a very good fighter in Diego Lopes. So you guys let me know what you think's next for Alexander Volkanovski and Diego Lopes in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe.